Go. Welcome, everybody. This is the Hawkeye session, Wednesday, October 28th. We're going to be going till about 9:30 this morning. Trading the foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. The high degree of leverage can work against you as well as for you. Before deciding to invest in the foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objectives, level of experience, and risk appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest money that you cannot afford to lose. You should be aware of all the risks associated with foreign exchange trading and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. This is a live trading room. It is for educational purposes only. No financial advice or recommendations will be provided. Any trade taken during this live session is not a recommendation or a suggestion that you should also do the same. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Do not trade money that you cannot afford to lose. Before trading live, always operate with a written trade plan that identifies the rules for entries, exits, targets, and risk management. And with that, we'll head to the charts. Right now, there isn't a whole lot to be looking at right now. We haven't had any alerts since 4:15 this morning. We had a Aussie US, and that was there was at 4:15. I kind of drew it out. It broke pretty much right about the time where we got the alert. And if you're over at 4:15, you could probably have caught a nice little run. But unfortunately, I was still in bed, and so was as was a lot of other people. But this is where I would have drawn the wedge. We basically had a strong move up. We had the wedge alert.
Oh, I
Which
don't see your screen, Al.
you don't see my screen?
I don't see
Oh,
your
oh,
chart. I
oh,
just see
here
your
we go.
splash
There
page.
we go. How about now?
That's much better.
Yeah, there we go.
There
Okay.
we go.
So basically, what we're looking at, let's just go back and do a replay and just see if we can make any sense out of what actually happened here. So I'll go to the replay bar, come back to the time when it happened, and we'll just see what we can do. I'm on a 15-minute chart right now. Again, it was at 4:15 this morning. It was an ascending wedge. So basically, we're looking for it to go from a trend going from the low to high. I'm basically looking at the high and low of the day's range from yesterday's close to last night's range, and it was a pretty decent range. And you see, it had a nice strong move. It came back, had a pullback, had the alert, and then I was like, okay, now what do we do with this alert? And this is not what I would call a real pretty picture. We had here's our pivot low, here's our pivot high. We're going to try and tuck this in as close as we can before the alert, which is going to be right about here. And then we're going to, so this is the we have an anchor, we have a first hit, we have a couple of near hits here, takes off, comes back. And right now we got the alert right at this trend line. If it breaks this trend line, we'd be going short. If it goes up, we'd be looking at a flat top on the top to see if it breaks the upside. We're looking at our moving averages. And with the moving averages, we see that everything is bouncing pretty much right off the 30-minute 62, which is a significant area to bounce. If it breaks that and comes back and retests it, usually that's a good sign that's going to head on down. If it breaks and just keeps zigzagging over across it, you just try and stay out of that trade as best as you can. But you want to have the strength to the uh, once it breaks, have to get a strong break up above it, and then go and trying to get in from that area. So let's go to our 5-minute chart. We'll just switch this to a 5-minute chart. Before I do that, I want to put it on a higher time frame and see exactly where our higher time frame trends are. I can see there's a high, here's a little higher high, here's a higher high. I'm going to use this line right here for the upper trend to the upside. So I'm going to mark this one from here to here and see where it comes up. You can see where here's an anchor, here's a hit, here's our third hit. It came up, tested, broke it, came back, couldn't hold it, and it came on back down. So this validates this for a trend line. And I'll make that as confirmed. And then we look at the bottom and see if we have anything from the bottom. You may have to come back a little bit of ways. And you can see there's lots of, this is a hit here, hit here, hit here, hit here. So this is a pretty strong area of support. So I'm just going to mark this it's not really so much of a trend, but it is, I mean, even a horizontal line is a trend. So I'm going to be looking at, if this thing comes down, it's going to have to get through this area. This is going to be a significant area. It's also going to have to get through the A. So from, you can see that we had some nice moves up across this 30-minute 62. And we had a little bit of we have a little bit of a trend going from, well, basically this is the area that I'd be looking at. And so I'm going to mark the A with the same target area, because if it does break this A, it's got to get through this little zone right here if it breaks where the C is. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that.
Hey Al, I may have a trade set up on USDJPY.
Okay, let me know if you do, and then we'll go to. Let me finish this one up.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
we'll see where what do this replay. We won't dawdle with this too much. So I'm going to go right now. I'll put it on a 5-minute chart, and we'll just look and see how this thing plays out real quick on the replay. So right now, here is the alert. We're looking for the break below where the C is. That's where we tucked it in before the alert. That's the lowest low before the alert. And we are getting the 1362 cross up above, which should give some pressure down. We have the 62, 30-minute 62, which is trying to break. If it breaks, comes back up and gets a retest or breaks strongly, you could use the top of the wedge then for your stop. So here we go with the replay. Here we go. One candle at a time. Strong move down. That was a strong break. I don't know if you have been able to get in on that 5-minute move, but right now you can see where this thing broke. And it was that was 6 pips. That was a pretty strong move down. I don't know if it'd give you a chance to get back in. You could, if you really were aggressive, you could just take it right on the close of that 5-minute candle. I usually wait till a pullback. I don't know if they're going to get one or not. I had a little bit of, here's a nice strong move down. Here's that blue candle that I often talk about. You got the blue candle, so that's a drop. It's spacing. It's probably going to, so with that blue candle, when that blue candle showed up, I'd be having an entry right at the bottom of the wick of that blue candle with a sell stop. And that way, when if that candle comes back in just like this red candle is doing, you would already be in the trade. And then you put your stop up above, I would probably put it up above the 30-minute 62. Coming down, seeing if it comes back up, retesting. Right now it's still basing, and there's your first target area coming down, and there's the second bounce, and it still keeps on going, and the rest is history. That was a nice little move, but again, this was at 4:15 this morning. It's now at 6:25, so it's well, this is where it is at 6:25, and we'll just play this on out. And it's still going now. This was one heck of a move error. But like I said, you've had to been up in the middle of the night to be able to catch that one. So you said USJPY, Matt?
Yeah. I've got a little bit of a interesting thing going on with some trend lines. I just made my own wedge and
USJPY.
let's see here.
Let's try this one right here.
So it's a big trend line from the you'll see it when I kind of explain it, but it's at it started on at 10:27 on the 27th, so yesterday, and yeah,
T7 at what time?
back up a little bit more. You see that big that high there?
This one here?
Back
This one?
there. Yeah,
This
and
one?
then draw a trend line from the top. So you could start your trend line at the top there, and then draw down to current price.
And so that's right now, this current price is a confirmed hit off of this. So that confirms this trend line right here.
Yeah.
So that's
So
confirmed right there.
we're gonna have something special happen, whether it crosses here, whether it breaks, whatever's gonna happen, probably gonna happen pretty soon. Because look at your crosses on the 51362. It's getting
Okay.
ready. So we'll see if it breaks out the top and then potentially take a trade, but it depends what's going to happen in the next little bit. Nothing, not ready to pull the trigger yet.
The fact we have this 30 minutes 62 is crossing over the 1560 to 15 minutes 62. We've got the moving averages crossing there. So right now, all the moving averages are not in the right direction. It's actually starting to come into a consolidation area right over here. If it's, I would think if it comes on up, this is a key point. This is where the hit was on the confirmation of this trend line. So if this trend line breaks, the first area is going to be looking at is going to be right up in here, which is going to be just above the 62. I would expect that it's going to come up, bounce out of the 62. This thing is still sloping down. So if this comes up, I'd be looking at this more of like a trap.
Yep. So it's just to note, and why I drew the trend line there is because when you're drawing your wedges, you're going to start seeing interesting things like trend line bounces, and the third hit on a trend line is very noteworthy. If you have a third hit on a trend line like we do here, um, definitely pay attention to it. So I might.
Right now we have a confirmation on the anchor. Here's the hit. Here's the third hit, a bounce. So right now it's trading inside this channel right here as channel gets tighter and tighter and tighter. If this thing breaks to the upside, it's probably going to come break, probably test this, come back, probably hit this, and then maybe resume into an upward trend. And then we'd be looking at possibly this area. Now the question is, how strong is the yen? The yen was fairly strong, if I remember correctly. The dollar was the strongest. So the dollar was the sixth. When we looked at our chart up here, you can see the dollars on the higher time frame, almost all time frames, the dollar is showing strength. Now it is showing about the same with the yen, but the yen is starting to lose a little bit of ground as you get to the lower time frames. All the way down here, the yen is the weakest. So if we get a bounce of that, I would be looking to go trade it to the upside. But the question is, how much room do you have between here and the
About 10.
62? You have about 10 pips. Is that what it is?
I think so. I didn't measure it. I just saw visually, but
Looks like
I'm
about eight. Looks like about about 9 pips is what you're looking at. So if it does break, there is a
I'm in
chance
it.
to get your seven pips out of here.
Yeah, I decided to get in it. I'm gonna see what goes on. My stop loss is very tight on this. My manual stop loss is like not even 5 pips, because if it comes back into the trend line, then I'll just take myself out of the trade and look for a better entry. But this is I've been in it for 2 minutes to see if it's going to go to the 62. If it does, I will take myself out, and that will be the trade.
I do like the strength of this. I like the fact that the dollar is the strongest currency. I do like there's enough room up here. And if this is a trap, I'd be looking to get in, trying to get your 5 or 6 pips out of there, and then be getting out. I wouldn't dawdle with this trade.
No, I wouldn't sit on it.
Yeah, we don't want to sit
But
on this one.
what I liked is the fact that the 62 is right up there, and you got enough room before it bounces there. So
All of our moving averages are in the right direction on the next lower time frames on the 5 minute and the 1 minute. You do have enough room to the upside here, but I said my target would be right
I
up in this
like
area.
I like how the 513 rejected, like the 13 rejected on the 1 minute. You see how it got real
Oh,
close and
it
it
came real
rejected.
close. Yeah, these
Hmm.
are really pretty. These are real significant signs. When you see the crossovers, and it's trying to cross over and it can't cross over, that's the area to try and get back in long again. And you see, like it came in here, it couldn't cross it. Pulled back in here, it couldn't cross it. And so right now, this is still, and we have all of our RSIs are still pointing up all on the 15 minute. They're out of that 40-60 zone heading up to the 89. This one's the same story there. This one, the 3-minute came up, pulled back below the 8, and the 8 crossed over again, and is still trying to get this one. I mean, it's getting near the end of the move, but there still might be some room to the upside to tag that or to come a near tag. If we have a Fibonacci line, we have a green fib line, I would expect it's going to come up and at least tag that green line, maybe give us a bounce across and back. If it can tag that line and get a little bit more of a push, I'd be getting out of this trade.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Let's see
But
from
as
where we're going now.
as a wedge trader, what we're doing is we're trading trend lines. And I think sometimes we're so focused on the wedges that we forget to focus on the trend lines, because that's what we're trading. We're trading the bounces off the trend lines.
One thing, as you spend time in this room and as you become more familiar with what we're doing, we use the wedge alerts as the basis of our discussion here. But there are times, like today, where there are no alerts. So what we're doing is we're basically trying to show you a method of using technical analysis to enter trades. So, and whether you're trading an EA or whether you're trading manual just on your own, you want to be able to distinguish between good trades and bad trades. And by using these trend lines, the trend lines are probably one of the best ways for even the institutions to be using to find out areas of where they're going to be getting in or out of their trades. These fib lines are basically they're institutional lines that are just price points that the institutions use to and they're not usually using sometimes like a 1 minute or 5 minute time frame. They're using 1 hour, daily types of bounces. If you ever heard of the quarters theory, that's where you're looking at like $1, 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents, and $1. And all those 25-cent moves are basic price bounce points. All these fib lines are basically derivatives of those areas. And you often find out when you get a trend line crossing a fib point that we use here, that's a double confirmation. There's a lot of people that use Fibonacci's. There's a lot of people that just use prices. Well, when you get a Fibonacci crossing over a price point, that's a double confirmation that there might be some bounce at that point. So,
Yeah.
or a target at that point. And oftentimes you'll see where it's going to tag it, pass it, check it, go up higher, and may come short and then retreats from it. But usually you're going to see some sort of a reaction right around these points.
So we'll
And
see what happens here, Al.
yeah,
We're getting a little bit of struggle there. You probably have a Fibbo line or something there somewhere.
well, I got
Maybe
this green one right up here.
okay.
Yeah, this is at 104.40 is a green fib line. So I would expect, in fact, we've got your 62 sitting right up here, right in between where our price. I would expect to see at least a bounce, maybe even a breach of that green fib line.
Yeah, let's find out what's gonna happen here.
We're still looking at the RSIs, and we're just going to wait and see what happens here. There is strength to it is reaching an area of, it's already kind of extended, but that it's reaching an overbought area. But overbought oftentimes means it's going to be more overbought. So just because it's up here doesn't mean it's just going to drop off right away. A lot of times it'll come up and it'll just hang up inside this 89 to 75 range. And if it does, that means it's going to just keep on going to the upside, or until it gets higher. Then it starts to turn around. You'll start seeing a couple moves back and forth before it heads on back down to the 11 area.
Hey, look, you got the 5 cross at the bottom there, Al, on your 5 minute.
The 5 cross
62. I think all the moving averages are in the right direction now on the 5 minute.
Yes, yep, they are on the 5 minute. They're in the right direction, and actually on the 15, they're not quite in the right direction. It just breached the 15. It broke and closed above it, which is actually a good sign for us. The fact that it's the 60, we have the 5 and the 13 cross. Now we're coming up to, if we can get the 13 to cross the 62 here, this thing's going to go up higher for maybe most of the day.
Yeah, we could see what happens. It's just a little setup, right? We were just
Yeah.
looking for something to do, and I just going around drawing trend lines. Um, I love trend lines. They've been pretty much my best friend.
And right now on some of my other
Ooh.
indicators, we have, it's coming up into an extended range, but oftentimes it'll just keep on going for a little bit still.
Yeah, you get a little bit of heat here. All right, what that's expected. I think she might bounce off the top of my trend line here. So
I don't like the fact that this, we'll see if this green crosses the yellow. We had it where the 5 minute came down, couldn't cross it, came down, couldn't cross it.
it's at the
This
top of my trend line now.
this one may go ahead and cross over here. There's the cross right there. This thing could come down. This could just be a pullback though to retest this 62. I'd have my stop below this.
Yeah, my stop is at 28.65. If it goes any deeper than that, then I'll be out of it, and maybe I'll look for another potential entry. But that bounce on that trend line was too good to leave there.
One thing, and you can see where it just crossed over this. You double get this one too. Clone here. We'll sync that one.
Let's see what happens.
This was the bounce off. This is our trend line. This is our confirmed trend line right here. We got a little bit of a bounce over it, and we'll see if this thing's. This is the third hit, so we're going to see if this thing's going to hold. May come back down, retest, and then come charge back up again.
Well, usually it does do that, Al. Usually
Yeah.
it likes to come back and challenge the line and says, "Hey, we'll see you next week." It's just showing that it likes to be it likes waving at those lines.
Now we do have this is a nice little rally. This is almost like a little ABC move, and it could come back and retest this to go up and retest up here, or this could be the beginning of another wave up higher.
Well, Al, remember you said the quarters theory? Right now, where it kind of rejected was 104.30, 104.25 or 25.37. Oh yeah, 37.
And actually 37 is if you have 25 and 50, 37 is right in the middle. So it's rejected right in the middle of that quarter.
Price is not random. Price is not random.
But you see we had a little bit of a rally, base, rally. It's retesting this base right now. So we have a little bit of a base in here, right where it reached the, and now it's retesting. It came back into the wedge, retesting the wedge. This would be a critical point. If it can break through the bottom of this thing, it may come back, come lower into retest this blue fib line, which is right where our 62 is.
Yeah. Let's see.
$104.32.
Al, I might sell it. I might sell into it. I almost like it short better than long right now. It's kind of like the picture changed a little bit with the RSI.
Yeah, I'm looking at a possible sell stop. I'm gonna hold on to my long position.
I am too, but I'm not going to let it come too far.
At right around 104.32.
Let's see. I'm back at my entry.
32.
I'm going to hold on for a little bit until.
Right now I have a sell stop right around. Oops, I can't do that there. I gotta get my wand. Here we go. Let's try that. There it goes. There's a little bit of there's a stronger break right there.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a little pullback, retesting this little, it was just retesting this little zone right in here where this little rally basically tests the base, and now it's taking off again. Now I would still have my, now I'd be looking at putting my stop down maybe below here. Now they broke this trend line for the second time. Now if it can break this area right here, because there's another little zone, it's a rally base rally, pulled back retest. Now if it breaks this, is heading on up to this area.
Let's see what's going to happen. If it doesn't break that area right now, I think I'll pull out with in the slush, but we'll see what happens.
Right now you have a bottom here, you have a double top here. It's going to have to break out of this area, and then it should be heading on up to the where the 62 is.
Yeah, well, one of these, either the bottom or the top's going to fail. So
we have a little bit of a, there's a nice little, there's a little bit of a flag right here, but I'm looking at this whole region right here. This is the region.
You're going to get a wedge.
It's got to break out of that.
You got a descending wedge forming.
Yeah. So here's our bottom. Here's our top. Pull it over here because that's an equal top. Bring it down to the bottom, and we have this.
It's kind of wedged down here. We got flat at the bottom.
There.
Boom. Now, what we know about wedges is most of the time, well, 63% of the time, it'll be a continuation of that move. So this probably won't be the reversal. And we know that 75% of the time, it's going to go the length of the stick, which is the width of the wedge from the top to the bottom. So you'd be looking at hitting your target exactly. Your 62. If you drew a stick from your B to your C, and then you put that on top, you would hit your 62. Almost. You'd be pretty close. All we're doing is we're trying to stack probabilities. See, a continuation on the 1 minute would be a move upwards.
Just going to get my stick up here.
Mm-hmm.
Take a vertical stick, take it over. I'm going to be looking at probably this area right in here where we got the bottom, and we have the top, and then we're looking for the break. Once it breaks,
or it's a little bit short. Okay, stick short.
So now it did break this. Now we also had, we really didn't have much of a wedge in here. Well, we kind of did, but I'm going to use this last little pullback.
We only had 2 points on that wedge. We had a couple at the bottom and a flat top at the top. But that flat top wedge, the one that you just looked at, is actually bouncing price right now, current price.
Of the top of the blue line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we wait.
I still prefer AIRIS alerts over manually drawing these. You know, it's there's a little bit more juice in what AIRIS provides. I trust it a lot more than some of the trade setups that I try to put together, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't.
Which is pretty much the case with everything.
That's true.
Unfortunately, no one has found the Holy Grail yet.
No.
There are people that have found some high probabilities, but no one's found the Holy Grail.
The only Holy Grail I've found is that you're the Holy Grail. You know, like you as a trader, your own person, because whether you succeed in the Forex or not is going to be based solely on you, because it doesn't matter what where you're from, what your background is, how smart the world says you are. The Forex is available and anyone can do it and anyone can win. Actually, I heard someone say that 97% of the world has the mental capacity to be able to trade the Forex. All they need is the right tools, the right education, and the right drive and determination to make it happen.
You left out one important one, the discipline.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Because you got to be. What did we spend in the last 2 weeks on charts? Al, probably at least 80 hours.
Oh, yeah. I just live my life looking at charts.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
I don't even count the hours. But it's a lot. We just keep on looking to try and refine our methods and trying to, as the markets change, we try and find ways to change with it. The markets are fluid. They change. One thing that work 1 week won't work the next week, but the basic concepts are still there. The basic concepts are still valid. It's just a matter you have to make some adjustments to those concepts as the markets change.
Yeah, and we noticed a significant change in the markets over the course of the last 2 months or 3 months or whatever,
Yeah.
where what we were doing needed to be pivoted a little bit, for the lack of a better word, because we were just getting stopped out too often. It's not that what we were doing was incorrect. It's just the market. We had to adapt to the market change, because the realities of wedge trading, if you wanted everything about wedge trading and you're brand new, basically you draw your wedge, you draw a stick from the bottom to the top, and you wait for the break, and you take the break of the wedge. That's all. And you do that every day for 2 years, and it's game over. Like there's nothing rocket sciencey about it. It's just trend line bounces, and it's going to sound a lot easier than easier said than done, but that's basically how someone could just trade wedges. They just take the break of the trend line and take it for 5 to 7 pips. A lot of people haven't done the Forex calculator to really get an idea of. Go ahead.
This move right here is only a 4-pip move to where the fib line is.
And that's right where the stick is.
That's where the stick ended up.
Oh yeah, right.
If we take it up to the 62, we got almost our 7 pips. So I'm gonna shoot for the 7 pips and just see where. So I just took this right at the break of this little trend line right here. My stop will be down below. I'll keep my stop down right around below this 62. So I've got a 7 pip stop, 7 pip target roughly.
I like that, Al. I like that setup.
And this is our zone that needs to be. I mean, we did get a nice little push here. This is a little bit of a rally, a little bit of base. On a 1 minute chart, that doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's significant that you only have one little red candle and then you have another blue candle. So this thing looks like it's about ready to be able to take off. We start seeing the spacing right at where the breaks are. We did have the break of the original wedge, which is this blue line. We drew a secondary wedge, which is the yellow one, and we just have a little bit of a touch on that. We have the moving averages all in the right direction, the green, yellow, white. We have the green, yellow, purple. And
Al,
these are the only two that are not quite in the right order.
Are you in a different on a different feed? Because my charts look different than yours.
I should be on the Auvoria feed.
Okay.
Yep, I'm on the same feed I usually am.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me see.
And see, we have dollar strength.
bounced off the 1 minute 62, did it? No, it didn't. It's way down there. Okay. It's far. Look at the gap between the 62 and price.
On the 1
Even
minute,
on
yeah,
the
right here.
5, on the 5 too.
Yeah, this could have potential being a really strong up move, actually.
You know what, Al? I like the 30-minute 62 as a better target. But we'd have to be willing to take a little bit of heat in order for price to make it up that high. But this is a very tight entry because we're not letting it come too deep. I'm not gonna let it go past the 13-minute, the 5-minute 13, the yellow line on the 5-minute. I probably won't let it go there. But for it to get to the 30-minute 62, it might have to bounce on the 5-minute 62. All right, there we go. Let's see if something happens here now. You know what's good about this entering a little bit later? You had a better entry than I did, Al. Is that because the wedge is actually descending, your wedge, you get a nice, you get more pips in it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you're going to get an extra.
Going away from as it bounces to retest this other blue wedge, the yellow wedge, the secondary wedge.
There we go, Al.
It's sloping away from you, so when it comes back in, tests it, bounces, and still stays above it. There's a little flag pattern right in here.
Yeah, your scale's a little small on the 1 minute though. It's only 1 pip. It keeps on throwing me off.
Well, I've got 3 basically on the yen. Remember, your last 2 digits are the only 2 digits past the decimal point are your pips. So right now, each so the 3rd one is like that half pip.
Yeah, just the pipette, but it's I don't really pay attention to that one. I'm just saying that your scale from.
You're talking about the grid lines?
Yeah, they're a little small.
I'm gonna probably move that. Change.
No, like short. Yeah, like pull it in a little bit.
Those are basically now these grids are basically 1 pip apart.
Yeah, that's a little tight for.
Yeah, I'll just have to keep it that way. I like keeping the candle size big enough so I can see them better.
That's true. Let's see what we got here. You see how the 13 and the 62 kind of interacted together, and it's kind of separating now.
Yeah, that's a good sign right here. He had the crossover, came back, it kind of gave us a little whipsaw here. Crossed over. Right now we can pretty much track this yellow 62 on the way up.
I'm satisfied. That's the break.
Here's our stick. So if it comes back up and tests this green line, that's going to be pretty much. I mean, it could go a lot further, but this will be your first target right here at the top of this, where the stick is. The stick ended up right at the top of that, right where that green.
Julian, I saw your question. So yes, we have most of them available at this point. All the indicators that we've been using. So for TradingView exclusively, all you got to do is send an email over to Al at
Hawkeye.AuvoriaPrime, Hawkeye@AuvoriaPrime.com. With your what we need is your login. If you see up here on your TradingView, if you click on these little 3 bars in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see what your login ID is. We need that login ID and your email, and then we can get you set up.
Yep, and then you'll have access to it right away. So
coming right up to our 62.
Look at that, it sliced through your zone there like just butter. It wasn't there. And you know what's interesting is support and resistance is only ever going to be potential support and resistance. Because you're not guaranteed that it's going to be support and resistance every time. Look
I'm
for a
gonna move
cross on
I'm gonna
the
move this
15
down
minute.
just a little bit below, see if it comes back up and tags that again. I'll give up a pip to see if I can get this thing filled at a higher price there. I don't want to give up a winning trade just because I was trying to get an extra half a pip out of it.
Nope, not worth it, Al. Now that we're crossing the 5 minute
Now
62.
keep in
Go
mind
ahead.
it's got to pass your target by 1.1 pips right now before you're going to get this target filled.
Won't be a problem there, Al.
Still hasn't filled yet.
Mm-mm.
If it starts to pull back, there he goes. Boom, done.
Well,
That was a good call, Matt.
that's the trade. All right, you got a 30 minute 62. You're probably going to want to be out of this trade. If you want, you can wait for the next pullback. So I'm exiting this trade with 9 pips. And now, if I get enough sign, I don't know, look for another setup. I find the odds are better if you switch pairs, if you get a win. And I don't know if that makes sense for everyone, but definitely makes sense for me. Because then I'm not overanalyzing the currency pair. And it could keep on going up, right? So it's totally up to you what your money management is. It does look good, Al, but you're gonna get some consolidation right where it is.
Yeah, I said the fact that this 30 minute 62 is still sloping down on the 15-minute chart, that tells me it's not quite ready to. You can see it was a little bit flatter over here on the 1 minute, but on the 15-minute it still has a little bit of a slope to it. So I would not be pushing it too much more. I said this area still looks like to me is a trap area. I don't expect it to go much higher than this area where I drew this box because of if you look at the 15-minute, you can see where your anchor, your hit, here was a confirmation. It broke. We had a little bit of a fight battle here. It came back up. Now it's at the 62. So this trend line has now been broken and breached. However, the midpoint of where the trend line was is still valid. So that's where the top of this box is. And so I would not expect it to go much higher. If it breaks there, it's probably going to maybe wick up and then maybe pull down. So this area I'm looking at as being a area that you're going to be, don't be, I mean, if it breaks this area, then it's going to, if it can break this area right in here, where this point is, I can get this in draw. If it can break this level here, then the next level is going to be up here. So this could be a nice little move, but it's going to have to get through the 62. It's going to have to come up to 62. 62 is going to have to kind of curl around a little bit, retest it, and then maybe be launched off like a springboard off of that. But right now, this thing's still pushing it down.
Yeah, it's probably going to need some gas, and
Yeah.
it'll take a while to refuel. Let's put it that way. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
going to be a pit stop for it.
But right now, this trend line has been broken. This is still valid. And the other thing you may be looking at is moving this up back to this area, moving this for your trend. And by the time, if this thing keeps on moving out, this is going to be the area, this little part of the wedge of this trend line, which is now not valid or not confirmed. So I'm going to unconfirm this one. We still have this. This is still a valid level. If this breaks, you've got this trend that's going to be tested right in this area.
Maybe I'll throw something out there just to keep things interesting. But
So we're going to be looking at this area. If it comes out, it's going to be testing this area here. So go ahead, Matt.
All right, I will. This might be for after the market opens for the day, but I was looking at the Euro GBP, just a crosshair, because I like the way that it moves. It moves pretty pretty fast. Let's put it that way. Fast would be a good definition of how it likes to move. Let me see if I can give you an idea of what I was looking for. Maybe I'll share my screen. Hold on. Here. All right, you guys should be able to see my screen now. Let me see if I can put the chat over here. Julian, UJ.
If anybody has any questions or comments, we'd appreciate if you put it into the question answer box. That way we'll be more apt to be able to see it and know we won't miss it, so it won't be as likely to be missed.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. The chat can get kind of busy, and we get a notification when we get a message in there. So all I did was I looked for a swing high and a swing low.
Could you spread your bars out a little bit there, Matt?
Yeah. Let's spread that out a little bit. Hold on. I'm going to hide this so I get a little bit more retail out of it. Hold on. Let's close that down. I don't need that. There we go. I think I need a bigger monitor. How about that? So what I was looking, this is a 15-minute chart. So what I did is I used a pitchfork. I put swing high, swing low. I let it breach. The reason I let it breach here is because it went off of here and it broke, and then it tagged it, and then it went right back down. So here, I like this tag was more important than over there. And then I was looking for this median line. So the most important parts on this, and this is just a trend line on steroids, okay? There's a lot of Fibonacci around it. And maybe at some point we can go over pitchforks a little bit more, because they've been a pretty powerful tool. The guy who taught me about pitchforks is pretty much a legend when it comes to it. And there's a whole bunch of magic in them. But let me try something. Let me just try something. So I kind of saw something out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, can you tell me that price is random? Check that. So you've got your bottom, and then you've got your bump, and then it passes it, and it goes all the way down to this pitchfork, which is a trend line from here, and then it bounces here. So trend lines, you can draw them all over the place. And I just saw something else real quick. So that is close enough for me. That's like 2 pips. So I'm not going to split hairs over that, because is that close enough for you, Al? What would you say? On a 15-minute chart? Would you say that's close enough to be considered a hit?
I have my mic off. Yeah, I think so, yes.
You want to see something cool? Remember we were talking about the sticks? So this is stuff you can use on every currency pair. So it didn't make it to the stick. Maybe my stick was off. Hold on, let me try to do it again. So from the top to the flat bottom here, and you want it straight. Let's see. From the break, it has, oh, it's so close, it's not even funny. You're off by like 2 pips. So the likelihood from here is that this is a downward trend, The likelihood when this wedge was formed that it broke to the bottom was 63%. The likelihood that it goes the length of the stick is 75%. The whole length of that is 40 pips. Your stop loss in here, you could put it on the other side here, but that's a little bit big for this trade. You see here, you got the intersection of two trend lines. There's only one point that can hit those two trend lines at the same time. Only one point. So we'll see what happens here. There might be
So there might be got a rejection off that point.
Mm-hmm. But you see how I like to extend my trend lines because they sometimes bring in the potential for very nice trades in the future. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But you see how price broke this trend line here, which is the median, like the middle line. See, it bounced here, it bounced here, it bounced here. It passed it, it checked it, and then it took off to the downside. It bounces on this line, and then boom, it comes down. These channels are 10 pips from, let's just make a visual representation because I hide my scale. But this to here is 10 pips. And if you put 2% into a 10 pip stop loss, that to that is worth 2% of your trading account. And so if this is 2, 4, 6, 8. So this one bounce, this one trend line bounce could be worth up to 8% of your 8% of your trading account. So that's why your trend lines are going to be your absolute best friend. So when I tell, you see a lot of people, they're like, oh, I want to learn fundamentals and I want to learn this and I want to learn that. I'm like, you know what? Don't trade red folder news, and that'll deal with the vast majority of fundamental problems. And don't play around with non-farm payroll. And
speaking of red folder news, there is some news at 10 o'clock, just so that everybody's aware. The Canadian has some red folder news at 10 o'clock and also at 11:15. Speaking of that. So be careful of the US CAD around 10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's definitely worth noting. I know myself, I got caught on the wrong side of USD CAD a couple times in the last little bit. So I'll see if it comes up here. If it comes up here and it plays around with this line, then there might be a trade here. I'm going to add alert, and I'm going to get it to pop up. If it comes back up here, maybe I'll throw an alert on here too. So next one, the pound yen that everyone loves to trade. Everyone loves it because it moves very, very fast. Well, you know what's fun with the pound yen is that you don't need big stop losses when you use trend lines. So this is where I get my trend lines from. I look for a high, I look for a low. So this one here, I know it's a little bit smaller than what a lot of people like.
Can't really see the candles.
Yeah. Actually, let's go to a higher time frame. How about that? Because I need more candles. I need more retail stops. So let's go here. I'm just trying to see what we could do from a trend line perspective. So this is how I would start it. I would start here. I would say, okay, there's this one here. but I don't really like that. So we go up here. It's off a little bit. No more alerts, Al?
Nope, not since 4:15 this morning.
Okay. Well, maybe we can get just 2 hits on the trend line.
I can look and see if they have a couple. The dollar is still strong, so I think take a look at the dollar and British pound. Try that one. Take a look at
All
that. Let's
right.
take a look at that one.
I think that would be a good idea.
The pound US.
Yeah, let's go take a quick
Clean
look
up a
here.
chart
I
on
got
that.
3.
This is
Oh,
a strong move down. We're coming into a area where you could be getting a bounce off of this. We could start getting a little bit of a. Until let me show my chart.
yeah, for sure. Here, I'll stop sharing.
Okay, and we'll take mine here.
Mine looks very dirty on GU because I've done a lot of work.
Here's what I was looking at. I've got 4 time frames here. This is the 4-hour time chart. This is the 30-minute. This is the 15-minute, and this is the 5-minute. And I'm looking to see on the higher time frame which pairs are the strongest most across the board. And you can see where the dollar is like number 6 to the 7. So, but there's just one on the 4-hour chart. The dollar is just one tick less than the Japanese yen. On the 30-minute, the 15, and on the 5, the dollar is the strongest. So we're going to be trading to the strength of the dollar. As I look down at the bottom here, I'm looking to see I don't necessarily want the weakest, but I want the one that's going to be the most consistently weak. And that I'm looking at as being the British pound. It's on the bottom 3, on the bottom 3, it's on the bottom 2 up here. So I'm going to be looking at trading the strength of the dollar to the British pound. So I'm going to come over here to my British US. The dollar is the second currency of the pair, so we're going to be looking at trading this thing to the short side. And you can see this on a 3-hour chart. This thing's had a nice move for the last 9 hours. It's been going straight down for the last 9 hours. But now just keep in mind that as you look at your trend lines and you look at your target areas, you can see where there's a little bit of a bounce here, there's a bounce here, and then from this area it took off, came back up, retested this zone, and then that's where this is the origin of this strong move. So I'm looking at this as the upper trend line. So I'm going to draw this. Now keep in mind this is on a 3-hour chart. So here's the anchor, here's a hit, and here's a third hit. So basically this trend line here is confirmed. So I'm going to confirm this one.
I was about to tell you that I have a very nice 30-minute trend line, and I think that's what you probably drew. But my anchor from the top was actually just your second highest candle, not your highest at the top. I just found it made a better trend line, and it made really nice hits, at least on the 30-minute level.
Okay. All right. You're talking about like this one here?
Yeah.
This one?
I just put it there.
Okay. Either way, that's fine. So this is a confirmed upper trend line. Here we have, this is where we had a double hit at the bottom. It came up, made a high, came back down, retested the bottom, couldn't. So actually, when you look at you could draw a trend line, but you can see that from this point, from this point to this point, you can see where this was an anchor. Here's a hit. Here's a secondary hit of this trend line. This would have confirmed this, but now we have to break. So this is no longer valid. But so you come down and just see where you're going to be looking for something to come up to retest this area. So I'm going to use this this yellow line right below where the price is as my, and this is not a confirmed. So this one's not confirmed at this point. So this is just a basic trend line that we're still waiting for confirmation. I'm going to project that the confirmation is going to come off of the bounce off of this line right here, because this is where it bounced the last time. So this is sort of somewhat of a demand zone all the way from.
So Al, I might actually enter on the pullback here on the GU. This pullback that we're getting.
So we have our demand zone here. We're going to project. We have a little bit of a bounce. You can see right now, and we're still on a 3-hour chart. Keep that in mind. But you can see where it came down and it bounced. It kept bouncing. So I'm going to validate this for right now, as far as a second hit. I'm going to go to my 15-minute chart, and we're going to see what kind of price action we have with this. We had a nice little drop, a base drop, and I suspect it's going to, off this bounce, it's going to retest this zone right in here. So I'm going to take it from here. I'm going to make a little zone here. I'll make this a supply zone. And so I'm going to be looking to see if it comes back up and retest this. And so we could be looking at a little, maybe an ABC correction off of here, and then maybe a retest. But as we look and see where we already had, look how low these RSIs are. And we still have the strength to the dollar, so we don't want to be taking it long yet, because we still have a lot of pressure to the downside. But we're going to be looking to see how this thing reacts and bounces. And this is a significant, this is enough of a bounce, I believe, is going to validate this point, which is right above this demand zone. So we're actually looking for an area for it to turn around. But before it turns around, I'm going to be looking for, here's our anchor. Here's an A B pullback, a C pullback, probably up into this area, and then a retest of this area. And then with that, wherever this B ends up coming, and we can even take this over here a little bit. If I go to a 5-minute chart, this is basically how I would analyze a chart from the start without an alert, as we're waiting for alerts. So I'm looking at wherever this A ends up being. It could be right here. It could keep on going up higher, but whatever it comes up, wherever we get the pullback to maybe retest, it shouldn't go any lower than where the D is. If it goes lower, then we're going to be looking at a new low. But for right now, we're looking at this. This is actually forming a little bit of a wedge. We have, as I expand this out, we have a drop. We have some blue candles, another strong drop, blue candle, strong drop. Now it's retesting this little zone right in here. And if you were to be drawn a wedge, let me just take this one off. If you draw a wedge off of this,
Oh yeah,
you have a low, you have a high. Oh, come on. You have a low, you have a high. We're going to be looking for another higher low, and then we're going to flat top this, wherever this should happen to be. Now, this may reach this, and you may be looking at the top of this red candle possibly. Again, we don't know where this is going to stop, but wherever it stops, we're going to note it. And then wherever right now we have this C, right? But this is very, very close. If we go to a 1-minute chart, find it. And expand it some more. This is one reason I like having these expanding, because you can see the actual price movement. So here's the first, there's our high reference.
Yeah, so just another note, if any of you guys do not have access to all the indicators that we are providing, at least for the time being, we're providing them free of cost. Just send an email to the Hawkeye at AuvoriaPrime.com, and we'll make sure that you get the information required in order to obtain them.
And then make sure you send me a valid email, because what I'll do is once Matt gets your login ID for TradingView, he can get the half the indicators set up, and you should be able to get those active. What I need to do is have you send me an email so I can send you the link for you to be able to get the Fibonacci tools and the RCS tool. So we need to do it in 2 separate sections. So make sure you
make sure your TradingView ID is correct, because the last thing I want to do is have to chase people down and say, hey, I can't find you.
So I need a valid email. If you send me the email, and then a valid ID for your trading view. And again, remember that's going to be these little areas up here in the left-hand corner. Just click on that. Look at you'll see this login ID, and this is what you believe that this is mine right here. And then we can get you set up. And that only takes a few minutes. When I send you the link to the other indicators, what you'll do is you'll click on the link, and but if we have some time here today, I'll go through that in a little bit. Show you how to do it. It takes me a little while sometimes to find the actual. Let me know when you sent me the email so I can look at before. If you can send it to me before the end of the session, then I can look and see, make sure I got it, and then we can get you set up.
Al, that's Auvoria.com/Hawkeye.
Hawkeye at AuvoriaPrime.com.
Huh. So wrong.
Let's see, Hawkeye at. Let me see here. I'm checking my mail now. See if I can. I have it's kind of a funny way of how I have to log into this thing, but it is what it is. But even like, okay, back to the charts. So right now we have a nice drop. We have a bounce. We have building a little bit of a wedge. So we have right now this is I'm just going to use this as my trend line. Here's my anchor, here's my hit. I'm looking for the third hit on this trend line to either take it long if everything still looks good. I mean, right now we're still showing, right now on this 1 minute chart, you're seeing that the British pound has just flipped the strength of the dollar off of this little bounce, which means that we may be looking for this thing to retrace, come back in, give us a chance to go long, and then to retest this little zone up here, which is our supply zone that we've determined based on our 15-minute chart. And Matt, if you want to take over on talking about whatever we can talk about here, I'll see if I can get this inbox going here.
Yeah, let's see. So GU. Let me share my screen. Here, hold on. This is what I got. I did a whole bunch of different things. I like drawing a lot of lines, so anyway, let me see. This is actually a really big move. Really big move. And it's stunning to actually see how big of a move this is. This is 50 pips from here to there. So this break of this trend line here, which is what I did. I did this bottom, this bottom, this bottom. Remember how we said we like to see it break and then come back and tag the bottom of the trend line and then take off? Well, it happens so often. So what I did here is to line this one up. I did that bounce, this bounce, that bounce, this bounce, and that bounce. So this one was validated. This one's validated. Now I decided to draw a trend line in this direction. Excuse me. So what I did is I drew a trend line. And this was good. Top, 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 boom. That's 4 hits. That's a really solid trend line. Here I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then break. Remember what we said about the stick when you draw the stick? 75% chance that it's going to go the length of the stick. This case, it obviously did. Just note one more thing also. Is this break to the downside was just a continuation of this original move, which happens 63% of the time when you have a wedge. It's going to break in the same direction. So, so here we're just waiting for something to happen. Here I had a wedge. So I have this one and that one and this one, that all tagged. And then I have this bounce here where it broke. So I'm actually using this as a trend line more than a wedge. This might work and I don't know if it's going to work or not, just being honest. But if this holds true, we can maybe look at this for a target and then look at that for a potential sell. And there's a lot of pips in there. So if we're looking at just this stick is 25 pips. So GU has been a roller coaster, to say the least. It's been moving very, very nicely. It's coming to be one of my favorite pairs, at least in the last couple months. Let's see. As you start drawing trend lines all over the place, you'll start to see them before you even have to draw them. You don't even have to really see the trend lines physically on your chart. You'll just see them in your, I don't know, you'll see them in your head. You might get a bounce here. Trend lines are so not really predictable, but they hold a lot of value. So let's see. How are we going to get a bounce here? That's the third hit on this trend line. And the interesting thing is if it doesn't hold, then who cares? We're just looking for maybe a potential setup, maybe something that's tradable. Here we've got a little wedge. Let's drop this a little bit. And here.
I'm having a hard time accessing the email accounts.
Are you?
Okay, yeah. So I'll have to work on that later on. Maybe you'll help me with that.
Yeah. We'll figure that out. So here we're breaking out of this trend line. Not where I expected it to go, but you know what? You're not always going to be right. You're just trying to see some things. There's a lot of lines here. So now that I know that this one kind of broke, and there was only 2 hits, so I didn't really trust it too much, and it was pretty steep. It's a lot steeper than I would prefer. Now I don't think it's going to go there. So now we're going to stretch it this way. Might have something. It might come down and make a nice little bounce in this area. That would be pretty decent. Let me see if I can get another layout open.
Excuse me to interrupt you there, Matt.
Go ahead.
Anybody that needs these indicators, send me a private message in the chat with your login ID and your email, and I'll do it that way.
Look at that.
And send it to me with the email at Hawkeye at AuvoriaPrime.com. Also, that way I can at least get a record of it. But yeah, send me a private to just to all panelists or just to me. Just go to all panelists would be good, and then I'll get it we'll get it going for you. Then we'll check the chat on that.
Mm-hmm. This is an early entry. I just saw it might play out. I don't usually take trades within a potential wedge setup, but when it broke this trend line, that was pretty significant for me. And because price has been moving so aggressively the last little bit, there's quite a bit of pips to potentially be made. So I won't let it go back into the trend line though. We'll see if it stalls out. That's 3 pips. Four pips. Well, you see, all I'm doing is just showing different ways to take, excuse me, why trend lines can be your absolute best friend. Oh, this looks interesting, Al. I think I maybe shouldn't have taken that trade. Here we got Fibbo retracement. Let me see if I can pull that down a little bit. What do we got? No, off by a bit. That's a 50% retracement, I think. Yeah. So if it gets to 61.8, then I will exit the trade, but it might only be, might get some heat on that. That might be the ABC correction. But I'm not an Elliotician, or I didn't really study Elliott wave as much as I know some other people have spent a lot of time, countless years studying Elliott wave theory. It's a theory. It helps in certain ways, but don't get lost in it, because I've heard that you can't find anyone that's trading exclusively Elliott wave. No professional successful trader is just going to use Elliott wave to trade. They're going to have other systems. They're going to compound things together. And even some of the best traders I know can't wave count going forward very effectively most of the time. And I'm talking people that have been trading 15, 20 years. So don't get lost in all the things that are available in the Forex. There's a lot of junk out there, a lot of people trying to sell systems and sell theories. And if I found wedges and trend lines as soon as I started trading, I think I would be pretty far ahead of where I am now. And here is gonna be our potential take profit in a little bit. I think I have 92.20. 21.2920 is what I'm looking at. Probably this bounce on this trend line here, but if it goes anywhere around here, then I'll just exit. We'll see what happens.
Al,
Yes.
just to let you know, I've taken a screenshot so far of the chat with the various.
Oh, good.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks.
so I've got that.
Well, as let's wait another little bit. I think it's gonna cycle down. We'll see what happens.
I think this thing could start. If it breaks out near the top, it may give us enough room for a long trade to the, yeah, it's got 17 pips up to that supply zone that I drew out earlier. So
Oh yeah.
if it breaks to the upside, if we can get, I would say this, if we can get the moving average crossovers in the right direction on the 1 minute, we may have a trade to go to the upside, looking for a target of about 129.63.
Well, that's a nice target. I like that. What's 129.63?
That was the bottom of that supply zone that I drew out earlier, which is off the where we had
right
a drop
here.
15
Oh
minutes.
yeah. Okay.
Nice little basing area, nice strong move down. And so this thing could be the where it starts to turn around.
It could. It really could. I'm not liking how long it's taken to get down there.
See that where it is right now, it's looking like that could be the B move from the low to the high to the first pullback. When I had that ABC move where I was drawing with projection, where it is right now could be the bottom of the B move, and looking for the next stronger move is going to be to the upside. But I want to see that. I would like to see here. I'll show my screen and show you what I'm looking at here.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's not 61.8 retracement yet, but here I'll stop sharing.
Chris has in the chat. He says he's not able to. He's not able to log into his MetaTrader 4. I think it's because I don't know what server I need to use.
Yeah. Oh. What broker are you using, Chris? Let's give us a. If you're using, depending when you logged in, when you opened up your account, or whether it be a demo or log or live, it should give you what server that they're using on your broker, and you should have the information when you logged in. It should give you the server, whether it may be a demo server or server demo 1 or demo 2. Check your login information when you opened up the account, and that should tell you what server that you need to be using.
Yeah, or if it's a live account, then it'll say live, but then you can scan. You'll have to write the name of your broker in MetaTrader 4 and then hit scan. And then it should bring up that actual server.
If you need some help with that, we can maybe help you out with that. We can give you a link. If you have time today, we can maybe help you out with that this morning. But right here, what I'm looking at right now, here is the low. It bounced off. Here is where we made our first confirmation off this trend line. So this is the second hit. We had the anchor. This is the first hit right here. Here's the pullback. We're starting to get the moving average crossover. And remember, I was saying that we're looking for an ABC move. So I'm looking for, here would be the 0. Here would be the A. Here's the B. And this is the potential B. It's still respecting the trend line. And then we're looking at the C being up here somewhere around to retest this zone. If we get the crossover of the 5 and 15, 5 and 32, which we're just about have it now, I believe. This could be, that's a fib 9, it's a moving average.
You think it's going to cross?
Well, it's already crossed. The
it did.
15,
oh,
yeah,
I missed it.
It's already crossed. And so now we'd be looking at, now we do have, this would be the more, this could be a target area where it comes up and retests. We have our Fibonacci lines right here. Here's our blue Fibonacci line. That's a strong line. So I would want to see it cross it, check it, come back, and then come back up again. And then see what our targets are. If it has, you should have.
It's a 930
pound. This should be this 930 move. There's 7 pips. If we get, you could get your 7 pips if it comes up here, tags it, crosses, come back, checks it, and it would be your first 7 pip target right to here. And that's on the way up to the what I would call the C level. This was a nice pullback. It didn't break through the bottom here. So this could be the beginning of a next 5-wave move up, since it has such a strong move down. Moving averages are good over here on the 1 minute. If you look, check the other time frames.
Oh, there it goes.
We have the British pound is strong by 3 on the 5 minute, and the right now it still has a 3-point spread to the strength of the dollar on the 15. So this again, I'm looking at this being more of a retrace of a reactionary move to the strong move down. This would be the the impulse. This would be the correction move, and then come up here, test this, and then come back and retest the bottom here. And we'll see what this thing does. Coming up, testing the top of the wedge, testing right there where our Fibonacci line is. We got the bounce. And so we actually have a little bit of a trend line going from, so on our, let me just remove this here right now. So on our little wedge right we have here's the bottom. Here's the first hit. And it says a flat top. Now, if it comes back down, retest this and breaks to the upside, we could have could be a possibility of a trade here. Here's our 5 minutes 62. Here's our 15 minutes 62. I'll mark those. So you have room to the upside off of the 15 minutes 62. And here's our 5 minutes 62, right where our zone is. So this could be the next target right into this area. You have this little wick over wick, this little area right in here. It could be, it'll give us a little bit of a problem. But this blue candle has a nice strong wick right up, came back right down, and it went further down. So there's some, I would say you're going to be looking at some sellers coming up into the bottom of this red supply zone, which is pretty much right where your 62 is. And we have about 3 more minutes before the market opens up. Buy stop there. Oop, didn't like that.
I did reverse my position though, so I got stopped out and then I took a buy. So I almost covered my loss here.
I tried to take a buy in here.
It didn't like it?
No, for whatever reason. Let me try it again. I'm just going to try it now just to see if I can get it to work again. This is not, I wanted it down here where the, let's just do a buy limit. We'll just do it that way where I wanted to get in the first place, which is right about the close of this candle. So it'll be 29.50-ish. So order and 29.50, or we'll call it. My target would be up here. Stop would be down here by the 62. We have all of our moving averages in the right direction. It's crossing over the Fibonacci line, which you see, which was right back here, is where it crossed over. Now it's coming up on the green line, which is 7 pips away from the blue one. And this one's another 7 pips away.
Remember that big trend line I drew? Well, it's coming up to test that trend line right now. So I think I might exit the trade before that happens.
And like I said, we're going to need to be out of here in another, no, let's give this a couple more minutes just so you can see how this thing's playing out. And one last thing, when I send you an email, those are you trying to get the indicators. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be sending you some links. And we're asking you that you don't share these links. These are for our proprietary for our room. It's not that you couldn't share them because technically you can. But what was going to happen is if too many people get it that aren't authorized, we're going to have to reset everything. You have to reload these things again. The developer still has the ability to turn these things on and off whenever he wants to. So we're just doing this as a courtesy to everybody. And but what we're going to do is we're going to send you a link. And when we open up the link, it's going to look, let me see if I can open this thing. Copy, and we're going to nope, that's not it. That's not what I'm looking for. Let's see, wrong one. I have the wrong. Oh, here we go. I had the wrong site here. And here's what's going to happen when you get the link. What you're going to do is you're going to click on, this is the website. And if you scroll down, you're going to see where it says, this is going to say add to your favorite script. You're going to click on the add to favorites. And then once you do that, you'll go to your favorites screen with this little FX, and you'll see that'll be popped up there in your favorites box. And this will be the Fibonacci price range plotter with the publication. And you should have this thing. All you have to do is click on that and it'll load into your chart. And you'll do the same thing for the RCS tool. And we'll send those to you. We'll send that to your. We'll send those to your email. And on that note, we're going to need to shut this thing down as, and we're not sure if this thing's going to make it up there or not, but it looks like it still has potential to do so. Keep an eye on that trade. Don't let it get too far away from you. And again, we have to get out here because Susan Batchelder, I believe, is coming in here at 10 o'clock.
Right.
So thanks everybody for coming. And we're going to be here again tonight at 9:30. And we will see you then. If not tonight, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of the day. Stay safe, stay green.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks,
Tomorrow.
Matt. Be well, everyone.